This is Bad News Hughes with your American election update. We're in the final weeks of the American election, and it could well be the final days of America. A lot has happened in the Great Satan since the last time we've talked. Thousands of Americans have died of a deadly disease. There's street violence everywhere, and the economy has collapsed. It's everything I've ever dreamed of. So why do I feel depressed? The truth is, it's because of how bad these candidates are. Joe Biden says he wants to be the president for all Americans. All Americans? Have you seen these people? You want to work for every QAnon Facebook psycho and gun-toting fascist e-girl? Joe, you helped write the crime bill. Don't let us down. Abolish the police and create a new order so terrifying that the surviving members of Congress will envy the dead. Ditch all this talk of compromise and dialogue and get real. You want to spend all day listening to people who think face masks are a Muslim plot? Or do you want to arrest every Fortune 500 CEO at once? Don't overthink it, Joe. Just do the right thing. President Trump has been a real disappointment. It reminds me of my friend Mao in his final years. His heart's just not in the game. Where's the wall? Why isn't Hillary Clinton in prison? Does he even care about crushing the deep state anymore? I thought all this chaos would make me happy, but it's all empty calories. I need vitamins. Where's the coup d'etat? Where's the nationalization of industry? I never thought I'd say this, but Trump is getting boring. He needs a new hobby. The minor parties don't inspire much hope either. The Libertarian Party has put up Joe Jorgensen as their candidate. The Libertarians try to present themselves as the party of guns, drugs, and cryptocurrency. Look, if you've ever tried to finance a revolution, you know that's exactly the sort of thing you need to scare up some cash. But Jorgensen wants to privatize Medicare and Social Security. Joe, the guns are for taking rich people's wealth, not to make us all poor. How are you on team legalize cocaine and still end up a nerd? Howie Hawkins is the Green Party's eco-socialist alternative to Joe Biden. He's selling himself as the lesser of three evils. People say it's safe to vote for him in blue states. How the hell did we end up wanting safe socialists? If Howie had any principles, he'd be campaigning from jail. Wait, that's wrong. If Howie was good enough, Biden and Trump would be campaigning from jail. We just can't support Gloria La Riva of the PSL either. The Party for Socialism and Liberation doesn't even control a single state. A revolutionary party without a base area? Where are they launching attacks from? Do they even have an army? If you want some credibility, run up a flag and take a few regions under your control. At least Kanye West has a compound. It's not quite a whole state, but it's a start. You know, maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. None of these candidates appeal to me, but what if they work together as a team? Sort of Democratic Avengers. Is that so far-fetched? We could take Joe Biden's love of mass incarceration and join it with Howie Hawkins and his anger at big polluters. Then we could match Donald Trump's love for federal secret police with Gloria La Riva's support for a socialist economy. As for Joe Jorgensen, she could meet everyone at Kanye West's compound with all the guns and drugs she can find. Then maybe the country has a fighting chance. Thank you.
Lamont died today. Or yesterday, maybe. I don't know. I got an email from the Democratic Party. It said, oops.
R.I.P.
Matt, I know you've been very upset past few
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. She was a girl boss. What can you say?
She was all of our bosses in a way.
What can you say when a girl boss dies?
I don't know. I mean, it's it's like you just have to keep plugging away. You just have to keep doing your job.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think that she's watching, and that's what gets me out of the bed every day, is knowing that she's going to be watching me pod from heaven in her box seats with Antonin Scalia and Otto Skorzeny and Alan Dulles and Countess Elizabeth Bathory. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all telling me that I can do it, and if they believe in me, then I can believe in me.
Well, I think that if we're going to talk about a Supreme Court justice dying this close to the election, we ought to make an honest podcast out of it. So let's put on our blogging aprons, don the punditry goggles, and ride the service elevator all the way down to the Beltway garage.
Beltway Garage, we're coming in. Gonna find out what's going on with SCOTUS picks and electoral tricks. Who gives a shit? We're all gonna die. Beltway Garage.
Welcome to the Beltway Garage, where you can climb the ladder of advice, stumble on the paint cans of consent, and leaf through the box of old nudie magazines starring Fawn Hall, Donna Rice, and Fanny Fox. I'm Virgil, Texas. With me, as always, legitimate businessman Matt Chrisman.
Hey.
The first body in our shop today, Democrats received some good news as longtime liberal Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away within the one-year election window where it would be improper for a replacement to be appointed by Republicans.
Oh, good. That means that there's no chance of that happening.
Or is there?
What? I wait a minute. I'm confused. I think we had all established the precedent last time that within a year of an election, you don't fill a Supreme Court seat because you want to give the voters a chance to speak on the matter.
Yes, the Biden rule.
Yeah.
That rule we were all familiar with. That was named after Joe, Amtrak Joe.
Yeah. No, I abide by it daily.
Apparently, the refs got together and determined that actually the Biden rule only applies when the president in the Senate are from different parties.
Ah, shit.
Which, as you know, is not the case right now. So question one, will Trump nominate a justice and will Republicans seat them?
I'd say yes, but not before the election. I think they're going to do it in the lame duck, which will be the most amazing balls out maneuver they could possibly do. They will be saying the only way that you can negate this is by doing something we know you're not going to do, which is pack the court or impeach the existing justices or something. Yeah. You're not going to do it. So that means we could sit here, even if we've lost the Senate, and it would be it'd be so sweet. It would be just so rich and delicious if they did it after losing the Senate, which could very well happen. Yeah. But yes, I think they do it before the calendar year is out.
Okay, so your call is that irrespective of the outcome of the presidential election, that a nominee, what Trump said he will nominate a justice this week, maybe hearings start, but the actual confirmation would take place between Election Day and Inauguration Day.
Yes, and fingers crossed it's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Now, here's an interesting question. Within that window, in the middle of December falls the constitutionally mandated date when the electors meet and actually cast their electoral
votes. And fuck each other.
And that is a critical deadline in terms of the electoral process, in terms of the presidential election, which we found out about in the year 2000, of course.
Yes. We got some electors meeting. You got to hurry up. Wrap it the fuck up.
In the year 2000, of course, Florida was, they were recounting their votes. They were about to meet the constitutional deadline to recount all the votes and figure out who won the election so they can get the right electors to cast their votes in the state capitol, until the Republican Supreme Court stepped in, issued an injunction, stopped the count, and then said, well, it doesn't really matter because, even if we ruled in Gore's favor, even if we let you keep going, there's no way you can finish the count in time. And, this is the deadline, so Bush wins.
Oops.
So
Sorry, guys.
This time around, there are 8 people on the Supreme Court. 5 are Republicans, 3 are Democrats. But it's very possible that this election will come down to a similar decision. It will go to the Supremes, who have to figure it out. And, let's live in a world for a second. I don't think this is the case. Let's live in a world for a second where John Roberts would vote with the 3 Democrats. Like maybe he's been fully bimbofied.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the deal with Roberts. Well, that's interesting with Roberts because clearly Roberts is the smartest of them, and the thing that Republicans hate about him and are mad about. First of all, I think that's mostly for show. They're not really mad at him at the elite levels. I mean, but then again, the lunatics are taking over the asylum. You can't even tell the difference anymore. But anyway, because Roberts realizes that in the current moment and especially in the future, the only real way to guarantee that you're going to be able to prevent any kind of political change in this country that is going to become more and more dramatic as things get more and more disastrous would be with the court standing in the way. And for that to happen, the court has to be a live political player. And that's why he is very careful about spending the court's capital in the public domain. Like, that's why he will vote for Democrats once in a while. Always on the most, always on questions of like social policy, the kind of stuff that rings alarm bells in the popular consciousness. Never on things like corporate control or, labor power, things like that. He's very, very a consistent reactionary. But he knows that there's going to be a big case someday. And they're going to have to break, in case of fire, break glass. They're going to have to open that to get the Supreme Court to put the brakes on some sort of radical change that's going to disrupt power distribution in this country. At least that's the fear. And he wants the court to be there. And if he blows the court, if he makes every liberal in this country hate the Supreme Court the way conservatives do, eventually the Supreme Court comes into play as a institution. And he is preventing that from happening by being fair-minded. And the question is, does he see something like a Trump-Biden presidential race? Does he see that as the reason that he's there? Or does he see it as a great way to buy goodwill for future kneecapping of American social democracy?
Well,
and I'm not sure.
Well, it's an open question. And right now, in the case of a tie in the Supreme Court, the tie goes to whatever the decision that was appealed to the Supreme Court was made. So here's my question to you. You believe that sometime between Election Day and the Inauguration Day in January, that Republicans they'll get their fifth justice or their sixth justice on the court. Mm-hmm. Do you think they would do it before that December elector deadline, maybe a few weeks before that, or do you think it would happen after that?
I guess you're saying would they try to get someone on the court in order to decide a court case?
Yes, in order to steal the election, much like they did in 2000.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that they have time to do that. I think. I mean, like the minimum amount of time it takes to ram through a justice, if they're all on the same page, would be not that difficult to make for them. Considering that the Democratic Party has essentially ruled out any kind of procedural effort to slow the workings of Senate, pretty much. I mean, it seems that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting from Crazy Nancy.
Well, I do want to know that, and let's put a clip of this in here. Nancy Pelosi had some hot stuff to say on television the other day. He had some strong words about the possibility of, say, trying to gum up the works in the Senate by just sending a bunch of impeachments there. Let's hear that.
So what can you do then? Some have mentioned the possibility, if they try to push through a nominee in a lame duck session, that you and the House could move to impeach President Trump or Attorney General Barr as a way of stalling and preventing the Senate from acting on this nomination.
Well, we have our options. We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss right now. But the fact is, we have a big challenge in our country. This president has threatened to not even accept the results of the election.
Is this is a different clip, right? Where she just glitches out and forgets where she is or what day it is that she just had?
She's very glitchy in this clip, yes.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution.
Okay, good.
She's clipping here.
Yeah, I'm really that's reassuring to me that all of our top leaders are just glitching NPCs. I love living. Seriously, this is the gerontocracy of the late Soviet Union. Just a bunch of fossils.
But now how Schumer ruled out, gumming up the works, because there's a lot they can do to actually just slow every goddamn thing down and, probably make it impossible to put someone on the court.
I guess it's possible. It seems to me that if there's a court case that'll go to the court that would decide the election, I don't think they need that for that last justice.
You think they've just, with the five that they've got on, that's
no, I
enough.
think between the five, I think that they have enough other things to do. They have enough other quivers. They have enough arrows in their quiver, as it were. I mean, they're willing to do things like, say, have a Brooks Brothers riot. We know for a fact they're willing to do that, and they're 20 years farther developed. 20 years more of norms have eroded. They have enough things that they can do that I don't think they necessarily need to, but I don't really know. I don't know. It's going to come down to tactical questions that are going to be closer to the moment than I can surmise from this position. There's too many flapping butterfly wings, so I don't know.
Well, right now, one of the explicit justifications, and of course, this in the past, this is the kind of thing you whisper or you wink at, but now they're just explicitly saying it. Well, the election's, it's pretty close, isn't it? It's going to come down to the Supreme Court. They're going to have to install the new president, so we got to have 9 people on there, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't that give away the game a little bit for you? I mean, what do you think the odds are that the Republicans mobilize to steal the election, and this would require them using their entire their entire structural power that as it exists?
Oh, I don't think they're going to do that. I'll flat out say they're not going to do a thing where, okay, we're now going to steal the election. I don't think they're going to do that. Now, I do think what's possible is you could get in a situation like in 2000, where in the aftermath of a election that is botched through the concrete decisions of Republican policymakers and regular old incompetence and our general infrastructural failure as a nation, we get a tipped ball, as it were, that they will do everything it takes and more to ensure that they win. And that would basically amount to stealing the election. But I don't think there's going to be a Republican Party-wide effort to steal the election, because I'm not sure if there's a wide enough belief in Republican official circles yet that the re-election of Donald Trump is the existential question that they pose to their idiot rube followers.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's say this. Right now, Biden has a single-digit lead in what look to be the most critical swing states. Places like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and we know from opinion surveys that Democrats are substantially more likely to be voting by mail this election.
Yes,
at least
that's huge.
That's what we think right now. That might, of course, this might not end up being the case, but it seems like they're more likely to vote by mail. And of course, Donald Trump has been telling people not to, or telling people to vote twice. I don't really know what kind of messaging is coming out of there, but he's hostile to the vote by mail people, because he knows that most of them are Democrats compared to Republicans. So let's say on election night, it's 4 a.m. Trump has, he's leading. He's up by like 5% in Michigan. He's up by like 5% in Wisconsin, 5% in Pennsylvania. And then they don't even start counting the mail votes until the next day. Pennsylvania's not even going to start counting them until 3 days after Election Day. Not even going to crack them open. And then each passing day, Trump's lead goes down. At some point, do you think at some point Trump is just going to step in and say, no, this is bullshit. They're stealing the election.
I mean, they might do it that night.
That night. He'll just say, oh, well, I won. Look, see, it's 4 a.m. Clearly won.
And he's going to use the precedent that's the way it's always been in this country. We've always had except for 2000, and even then there was a declared winner for a minute. We get a winner on election night, and blah blah, mail-in ballots, blah blah blah. Winner on election night. So the winner on election night should win, because if you've already claimed that they're trying to rig it, then and that you've called things like vote harvesting, which is a crucial component of doing like a recount, for example, certainly of mail-in ballots, is you just say, oh, they're just writing ballots out of thin air. They're just making these in a DNC laboratory somewhere. 40% of the public will believe you 100% on that, to the point of like biblical certainty. And of course, everyone else will be horrified or not paying attention. And it'll come down to what the court says, because he'll declare as a winner. The Democrats will say, no, we have to wait. And then there will be some court case in some state saying, stop counting these ballots. And it'll go to the courts, and then they will make a decision. And since Trump has appointed basically the entire federal judiciary in the past 4 years, thanks to Mitch McConnell, there's a very good chance that whatever ridiculous, tendentious, unconstitutional read they have on the situation would be considered correct and constitutional. And what would anyone do about it?
Exactly. That is the scenario, and that is stealing the election, because of course we have precedent for this, because they did it in 2000. Recounting a vote is perfectly legitimate, but the Bush campaign said, no, they hinted that they were rigging the thing. They made a more complex legal argument at the time, but this time around, they're just saying explicitly, no. This process of counting mailed-in votes, No, that's all illegal. That's all. You can't do that.
Yeah, they'll pull out anything they want, and there'll be nothing anyone can do about it. And it'll be awesome too if the court does the same thing. I mean, the fraudulent illegality of 2000 should be pretty clearly exemplified by the fact that the Supreme Court, in its decision, says this case will not count as precedent in any future fucking decision.
Yeah,
because it's made up. They're going to do the same thing with this. They're going to make it up, and the fact that we already did it once should tell you that we should all know what would happen if it's going to happen again. Democrats will be indignant for a little bit, and then they will say they're looking forward to working on the president to challenge the entitlement problem we have and the deficits and such.
So you, under this scenario, which you believe is unlikely?
I mean, you got to have a lot of coins turn up heads in a row for that to happen.
Well, it's a coordination problem, right? Because it's like Trump saying something and someone like Matt Gaetz saying, yeah, that's true. That's not enough.
Yeah.
But, getting Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell and like hundreds and thousands of Republican state legislators to say, okay, yeah, no, this is right. We're all going to do this. Like, that's a different story. And that is essentially what is required for this to happen.
See, I don't know if it is. So you get you get some yahoo's going to do a court case. Once it gets to the courts, the only coordination has to be these Republicans acting like Republicans and being aware that all of these are political questions, that there's no such thing as neutral arbitration, that's rube bait, and rule in the direction that will help their party maintain the presidency.
Well, there is a question,
and then it does itself. It's a self-fulfilling coup.
Well, there is a question. I mean, again, earlier we were talking about John Roberts and this idea of maintaining the court's legitimacy. Like you get one, like what you're gonna pick your shots. You're gonna build the Capitol and you're gonna spend it at some point. There is a limit to how ballsy you want to be about stealing an election. I think, with 2000, I mean, okay, that one was, was legitimately close election. If it's looking like Biden in the final count is up by 7% in Michigan, 7% in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Now we're talking where that's not this situation where this happens necessarily. This happens in a situation where the lead is small, or maybe it's Trump's or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that requires an election in which it's closer than that. So there's a very narrow band of possibility results where this could plausibly happen. If Biden wins outright, if like the polls as they stand now end up reflecting the final vote count, I think he wins regardless, no matter how much Trump wants to whine or do some half-assed media quasi coup or pronunciamento. Biden, it will be gnashed over, and it will be a big drama, and all the liberals will piss themselves. But at the end of the day, he will huff and puff and go home, because he doesn't want to get dragged out by federal marshals. But if it's closer than that, then I really don't know. It is a unprecedentedly chaotic situation.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying what we're in for is not an election night, an election week, where every single day Trump's lead erodes to the point where at some point the states start flipping. The map starts out all red and it starts going blue.
Yeah. And
there's going to be, I mean, in this particularly paranoid moment in American history, I cannot imagine how that is going to feel for the not just, the MAGA morons, but for the Republicans as a collective, for the right as a collective, to kind of slowly watch this happen. You have to think they're going to want to do something. Either stop the count, either go to court and say, get an injunction to stop the count, or, I don't know, just storm a fucking elections office in Madison.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had a situation in Michigan earlier this year where there was a takeover of the state capitol because of a mask protest. If the same people, and they would probably be very much the same people, like literally, showed up at a county courthouse or a county facility, I don't think that there would be much that could stand in their way, because the police sure as hell wouldn't do anything, even if it's a quote unquote blue state. Another factor here is, these primaries over the past few months have been conducted by mail to varying degrees of
competence, we know that in every single one of these primary elections, substantial numbers of mail-in ballots have been invalidated. They've been thrown out. They've been not counted for ticky-tacky shit, like signatures, checked the wrong box, wrote okay and do not write here in this space, that kind of shit. I read that in at least one district in Brooklyn during the New York primaries, up to 20% of mail-in ballots were.
Oh, fuck. That's a lot of ballots. Your vote counts, though, and it really matters that you vote. And please go vote. Nancy Pelosi told you to vote.
But something you said earlier, I think is very important here. You know, in the nightmare scenarios, like we can think about, like we have no idea what the Republicans are going to do, sure. But the real question is what the Democrats will do, and especially what Joe Biden would do. We know what Al Gore did in 2000. He gave up.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, it's more important that people believe that this democratic process is legitimate than it is for me to win.
Yes.
Than it is for someone to get, called out for stealing the fucking election. Now, what are the odds that Joe Biden would, should the election be stolen from him, start a government in exile?
0%.
0%.
Not going to happen.
Really? Because
no.
Well, you know, Biden's been running on this whole, you know, we've got to restore faith in American institutions, you know, bullshit.
Yeah.
For the past few months. That's the message.
The best way to do that will be to rise above petty partisanship and step aside for the greater good of this country and preserving its institutions. That's what it'll say.
So you're not seeing Biden leading a color revolution. He's not going to Juan Guaido it.
No. That would be very funny. I would like to see him tooling around the Potomac in a little dinghy. Listen, Jack, and it's just Dopplering all around.
I do have one interesting note, you know, and I'm sure later this week we'll be talking more in depth about the Supreme Court nomination, which is probably coming this week. Trump said that he will nominate a woman to the Supreme Court, and the top two names I've read, what's her name? One, Amy something Barrett, yeah. Who's like a Federalist Society.
She's a Catholic psycho.
You know? Yeah, right.
They love them. They want that. The entire we're creating a Guardians Council, but for Catholics instead of 12 or Shia, basically in this country.
There aren't that many Catholics in this country. I mean, they're not majority, not remotely majority.
Well, as I have said, though, they're of the right wing. They're the only right wingers who read, so they have to be the ones who go to the Supreme Court. Because the Protestants are all fucking doing multi-level marketing scams on each other and writing all emoji email to one another.
How are the fundamentalists okay with this?
Because
those guys hate Catholics.
They're hicks.
Yeah, but they hate Catholics. They're racist against
not anymore.
Against Catholics.
They took care of that. It's all been subsumed by politics. It was all, they squashed that beef with the moral majority. Whoever cares about their culture or shit is who they like. They don't give a fuck.
And the other one is, I'm just gonna look up her name real quick. Barbara Lagoa, who is Latina, wise Latina.
Oh, I could see him doing that. That would be a clever move. That'd be just classic politicking. That's West Wing shit. Picking a Latina.
She's from Florida. She's Cuban American. She's young. And interesting fact, when she was appointed to the federal bench a couple years ago, vast majority of Democrats in the Senate voted to confirm her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not, it's not going to look good if you're voting her down now. Like, what was it?
Well,
nothing wrong with her
presumably though, and if they don't do this, it will. I honestly think they probably won't. I mean, I'm sorry, they probably will do what you're talking about, which is skip past the question of like the validity of the process itself to like the qualifications of the specific nominee. If I'm actually going to try to stop this, and I'm saying they don't care about stopping this. If I did, I would not fucking talk about the specific qualifications of the fucking justice. The process is illegitimate. It doesn't matter who. It could nominate fucking Merrick Garland, and that would be very funny too, by the way. It's an illegitimate process because as soon as you're on the grounds of the qualifications of the fucking justice, you're done. Look what happened with Kavanaugh. The expectation of passage, and the thing is, it wouldn't matter most of all because it's a fucking Republican Senate, and all those guys they worry about flipping, like Murkowski and shit. They're on record saying I won't vote in this close to an election for to confirm a nominee. They've not said anything about specific nominees and their specific qualifications. When you're on that ground, you've lost the case already.
Yeah.
So you know what? I expect them to do this tomorrow. Start talking about the specific fucking qualifications.
Right. When you're talking about this individual as a jurist, then you've lost the debate and
it's over.
it's totally over then.
Yeah, it's not.
There are two interesting points there. One, I have not parsed these statements, but to my knowledge, Romney has said, I'm not going to do it until inauguration day. I'm not going to vote yes. To my knowledge, this might have been a like an anonymous person close to Romney. I'm not really sure. I believe Murkowski and Collins have both come out and said not before election day, so leaving the door, a little open for somewhere between election day and inauguration day. Of course, right now, I mean, before election day this is going to be probably the best chance Republicans have to put this person on a court, because right now, assuming there are no other defections and they've got the votes, they've got 50 votes plus Mike Pence is the tiebreaker. The only possible defector that I have heard people talk about is Chuck Grassley, the 89-year-old man who is, he's lately been posting about pigeons, deer, the History Channel, Dairy Queen, things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure what the thought process is there. Right now they have the votes. If they want to do this after Election Day, Arizona, the Martha McSally, senator in Arizona, she looks like she's going down to defeat right now. That's a special election, meaning that she would lose her seat right then and there, meaning that it would only take 3 Republican defections to kill the nomination: Murkowski, Collins, and Romney.
Well, I have a question about that. So who swears him in? I mean, I believe it's the vice president, right?
It's, whoever.
What if he doesn't do it?
Well,
what if he just doesn't swear him in?
I don't think it has to be the vice president.
Well, okay, but
whoever is like gaveling in the session.
I'm just saying, but couldn't the Senate just not do it? Just don't make him. Just don't have him get. He doesn't get the seat for a couple weeks, however long it takes. Just don't seat him.
I don't know. I don't know what the.
It's not in the law. There's no rule that says when he's got to do it.
I mean, everyone. I mean, I think it would take a simple majority to do that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Is all this shit just takes a simple majority, which they have. So you don't have to worry about fucking astronaut boy. Bye, Astro Boy. You're a loser.
Another thing you said you don't think Democrats want to stop the nomination.
No.
Really? Why is that?
I mean, they don't want to set the precedent of accomplishing something. Mm-hmm. Because to stop this, they'd have to do the kind of shit that if you did it, you could get things accomplished. They don't want to set that agenda. They do not want to set that expectation. Well, why don't you do what you did last time? No. These things are immovable objects. They have to be. They're light as a feather. The Republicans pick them up all the time, spin them around, and put them back down. Democrats, they go and they reach, oh God, it hurts my back. I can't. Only the most pure of heart can pull the sword from the stone. Because if people see these structures moving the way they could, or see this party exercise any power. I mean, my God, we've had nothing but like a $1,200 fucking check and no real corona relief at all. And they've held control of one of the houses of Congress. And they just go, well, we'll see. Remember to vote.
Well, I mean, what else are they going to do? I mean, they have one house. They pass their own bill. Then there's nothing else you can do.
They could do a bunch of other things to make the fight actually happen, as opposed to just, okay, we're not going to get anything. We're going to ignore it. Like, they could actually inhibit the progression of government, control funds, make it harder for Republicans to govern, and that would make them have to deal with that. They would essentially, what I'm saying is they would inflict a cost on Republicans obstructing anything, instead of just taking their not pricing it like the way we don't price carbon emissions.
Well, they are inflicting a cost. They're making them look very, very bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very important.
Okay, one last Supreme thing, and then we'll move on. Let's say Biden wins the presidency, Democrats win the Senate, but Republicans still in the lame duck session. They put the 9th seat on the Supreme Court. There's a 6-3 Supreme Court. Do you think there is any? Do you think there's any honesty in these Democrat senators now starting to say publicly, no, if that happens, we're going to pack the court. We're going to stuff it with Merrick Garland's like a Thanksgiving turkey.
Not going to do it. Not going to happen. Not going to do it. Very low chance. I mean, hypothetically, if the libs get mad enough as like a base and like do some sort of coordinated, if they start acting like the base of a party, acting like the Republican base does in terms of intimidating their elected officials instead of worshipfully assuming the best of them and psychologically identifying with them, and bullying them and threatening primary challenges and that kind of thing, you could see an effort. But if they do what they normally do, which is just double down on their hysteric hatred of Republicans, and of course the liberals and leftists whose purity test politics preclude them from having enough power to finally succeed somewhere and get something done, will accede to the thing as it happens.
David Sirota says primary Chuck Schumer.
I honestly think that could be a lever because it's not out of the realm of possibility, just because the Democrats have done such an intentional job of making the Supreme Court a emotional fetish object of Democratic politics. Like, this is the thing they care about. Like, I can't remember how many, like, every election comes down to, yes, the Democrats terrible, but the Republicans are worse. But people should remember that the way that's almost always been framed historically has been judges, the courts, the Supreme Court. That's what matters. I remember John Kerry in 2004. Think of the court. Hillary in 2016. Think of the court.
Judges, Supreme Court, mother, father, Kerry,
Exactly.
Supreme
Yes.
Court, Clinton, father.
Like, this is deeply imprinted. This is the Alamo. This is it. This is the keep. And it might trigger them. It might actually trip them to the point where they demand a actual confrontation instead of going back to their normal wound licking and self-deluding routine. Once again, I don't know if that's how they would react. I don't know if it's possible for them to react that way. They might have such an inborn like inhibitor on radicalism that they can't let themselves feel that way, and they immediately find a new thing to put all of that emotional investment into, away from the courts. Like, they phase shift immediately from the courts to something else. I don't know. Maybe it's like the canceling the new Elf reboot for anti-Semitism. Whatever it is, they find another thing to get mad about. But if they don't, if they really do fixate on the court, then I think guys like Schumer could honestly be intimidated into some sort of action.
Well, I mean, of course they're fixated on the court, but they don't have the same comparable infrastructure that the right wing crazies have. They don't have anything comparable to the Federalist Society or these bespoke conservative legal theories.
No, but all you'd need is, like with Schumer's case, I think all you'd need would be a plausible challenger, like a plausible primary challenger.
But that's hard in New York. The last time there was a comparable primary challenge was Hillary Clinton in 2006 by this anti-war guy, Jonathan Ticini. And of course, Democrats were, hell-bent anti-war at the time. Hillary Clinton had voted for the war, and Hillary Clinton, won by like 3-4 to 1.
Yeah. Well, but presumably the pressure would be more now because everyone's more insane and whipped into a frenzy. And look, this is the final. This is the thing. This is the event that Democrats have been warning people about for the last 20 years. This is the ritualized apocalypse of Democratic politics. This is the end state. If we don't vote for Democrats, if we don't do our duty and say our novenas and do a rosary and vote for Democrats, this is the end point. Ruth Ginsburg being replaced by a 25-year-old 4chan guy. That is the nightmare, and it's here. And the thing that's going to determine it is going to the thing that's going to be determine the Democrats' response if it happens. Like in the case that they get the Senate back and Biden wins, will be the degree to which the Democratic base converts that apocalyptic terror. I don't even know. I'm not one of them, so I don't know how they feel it. If they feel it as terror, if they feel it as anger. But whatever it is, it's got to go somewhere. And if it goes in the right place, it could push the Democrats to actually like put one person on the court. They would just add one person just to go back to what it was right before the Gingrich thing. And even though that's still a Democratic or Republican, even though that's still like there are more Republicans than Democrats, it's like canceling it. Here's
what I say. Primary Schumer, but don't expend an AOC or a Jamal Bowman on it. Don't. This is a preseason game. Throw in a Zephyr Teachout. Throw in a Cynthia Nixon. Get Zephyr Teachout in there like Sam Darnold suiting up every week.
I would say not someone who's already fucking lost. And certainly not lost as many times as she has. I'm sorry. They got the stink of loser on him. Even Cynthia Nixon does. She got destroyed.
And she only lost once.
Yeah, but by a lot. You need somebody who could be who could be like the Robert Redford and the candidate, just the face. Somebody who could embody something.
There's three other Sex in the City ladies.
Okay, yeah, maybe Kim Cattrall, I think, could do it.
Also, how about this Andrew Cuomo? Now that's a winner right there. Mr. Schumer, look out. Let's move on. Topic number 2. Let's put some.
Can I ask one maybe Rube's question, but it might be a good segue.
Oh, yeah. So as long as you add honky sound effects. We got a Rube question.
I was just thinking about this earlier. Wouldn't it be like advantageous for Trump to now run on replacing a Supreme Court seat? Bay, you got to vote for me if you want to get a conservative replacement in there.
That's why I don't think.
But then he could just do it anyway.
Well, yeah,
in the lame duck session.
But that's the beauty is you don't say that until afterwards. You just do it then. You don't have to advertise it. And then that's why I think they'll do it after, because it's the best of both worlds. You get to keep them at maximal, keep everybody maximally cranked to fill the seat, and then you don't even have to worry about risking it if you lose, because you're going to do it anyway.
It's a good point. I think the calculation is maybe they think, fuck it, we're going to lose this one anyway. Let's just get him on the court while we have 53 votes in the Senate and not 52.
I mean, if they do that, if they go it before, if McConnell really pushes it to do before the election, I think it's because he either doesn't care if Trump wins, or he thinks he's going to lose anyway.
Yeah, I think that would be the case. Let's move on. Topic number 2. Let's put some cool decals on this. There's an election on. Hey, did you hear about this? Early voting has started in some states, including Minnesota and Virginia, while absentee ballots are in the mail in others, such as Pennsylvania. Turnout so far is high in some places. In Fairfax County, Virginia, that's the D.C. suburbs, deep lib territory, nearly 1,500 voters braved the pandemic to cast early ballots on the first day of early voting, 5 times the comparable figure in 2016. My gut tells me big turnout is what Biden needs to win. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah.
And can he get it?
Yes, he needs turnout. It's nothing but base elections from now on. Everyone else is tuning out. So it's all about getting your people out there. And Biden obviously has a very big enthusiasm gap because he is such a compromised position for so many. He is not like the embodied Christ the way that Trump is now for the Democratic base.
He's not even a carry.
But yeah, no, not even close. But he is. But Trump's hated much more, I think, than even Bush was, and that will have its own effect. And I think that this Supreme Court opening is also going to galvanize Democrats.
Yeah.
And I think that it's up in the air. Obviously, I don't know. I think there's certainly a narrative you can tell yourself that sees Biden losing just because of his failure to inspire the insistence of the Democratic Party to run the same Democratic fucking game plan over and over again. And you know what? Like, that narrative to me makes sense. The thing pushing against that narrative, and that you've talked about, is that primary voting in the last year, even after the fucking COVID started, has been record-breaking.
Yeah.
You're having huge participation in primary elections.
Even with the disenfranchisement.
Even with disenfranchisement, all the stuff baked in that inhibits voting in the country as it stands, you're seeing 2 things. 1, big turnout, especially in the suburbs. And 2, those suburbs shifting to Democrats. Those are 2 real things that are happening. More suburbanized voting Democrat, which, of course, that's its own nightmare story, whereby the Chuck Schumer dream of the O'Malleys being the median Democratic voter will be coming true, which bespeaks a new future of, like I said, pure base elections where it's two subdivisions of retirees sitting on what they think is $1 million in equity, even though no one will ever buy the fucking houses because everyone else is fucking broke. Fighting over whether the Woodstock was good.
Homeowners Association versus Homeowners Association. Cul-de-sac versus cul-de-sac.
As we were just talking about, maybe Trump can use the Supreme Court as a way to bring the wayward, never Trump Republicans back into the fold. But at the same time, we know that Biden is weak in crucial Democratic constituencies. He's weak with Hispanics. He's weak with young voters. So my question is, could the Supreme Court the Supreme Court seat, and of course the specifically galling nature of having a lionized liberal like Ruth Bader Ginsburg be replaced by Jeanine Pirro? Is there anyone out there who had not already made peace with Biden who is going to look at this and say, well, fuck it, now I got to vote for him?
That's the thing. I don't think I don't know if it. I don't really think it is. And the question really does come down to: are the never Trumpers who are still never Trumpers? Are they really never Trumpers, or are they basically Democrats at this point?
Just suburban Democrats, you know.
Like, that's the question. And I don't actually know the answer. I think we'll find out. I think November will help tell us a lot of that. Like, because this is very clarifying. Because this is a kind of thing that speaks to you as a Republican deeper than the presidency, which is transient. You know, that's why we put so much emotion in the Supreme Court. These are lifetime appointments. But there's a very good chance, in my opinion, that this circus and carnival atmosphere of the Trump presidency, coupled with the disastrous last 6 months of America, might have led these people who, if already like divorced from, because remember, we've talked about how like the Republicans have become the party of Trump, like the identification is becoming deep, and that means whatever Trump sort of believes and whatever Republicans believe, that becomes what these Republican voters believe, regardless of whether it clashes with their individual, opinions on discrete issues. Like they might be for Medicare for all. It doesn't matter. They're part of the greater matrix of Trump because the symbolic order resonates with them. The alienation from Trump from these suburban voters might, at this point, be encompassing the Republican project, because at this point, how do you really differentiate it from Trump as a phenomenon?
Now, Biden leads in the polls by about 7% nationally, thereabouts, about 5% in those most critical swing states, especially the Midwest. These are healthy leads, but they're not blowout margins. And he is one standard deviation, systemic polling error from losing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the comparable situation is 2016.
Yes.
On the eve of the election, in 2016, Nate Silver, 538, gave Hillary Clinton something like 70-75% chance of winning. Something thereabouts. This time, as of right now, he's giving Biden about 77%. That's pretty darn close. But I think it would take a polling error, and of course, the pollsters have they've changed their models based on what they got wrong in 2016. They've adjusted it a little bit. It would take one polling error for Biden to lose, and what has been a pretty stable race so far. And again, voting has started in many crucial states. At this point in this race, do you think there's anything that would substantially change the dynamic? Because of course we just had one huge exogenous event, which I think the consensus here in the garage is that, it's just going to reinforce the same trends.
Yeah.
Or be a wash.
Yeah, no, we're at maximal polarization at this point. The meter is on the red. We are far in the red on this, and that's why people talk about the civil war. That's why people talk. It's not just glib fantasizing, although that's part of it. It's a recognition just of how high pitched and intense the political atmosphere has gotten, and what that means is that partisans are much more committed, and that means that you might be at a point where any event that happens just takes the same people, the same raw nerve ending political animals, and just throws some more salt in there and gets them all riled up more. Just gets more musk in the bull's nostrils. But it doesn't give you more votes because they're the same people. I think we might be reaching that end point.
I want to key in on a handful of very important states. Of course, you have the Midwest trio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, where Trump built his electoral. He built his electoral college victory in 2016. Does your gut say those states collectively go to Biden?
The returns so far out of the crucial swing suburban districts have indicated that there is a move towards Biden. Also, there does seem also to have been in some rural areas in the northern Midwest, for example, a alienation with Trump due to the fact that the trade war with China has led to actual harm for the American dairy industry. Just like with soy farmers also. Like there is a disenchantment with Trump in rural farm country because they have actually been hurt by the trade war with China.
They're not making soy faces over there.
No, they're not. They're making sad faces. And the turnouts seem to be robust, I would say, and it always turned down to people who are taking a flyer on Trump. Some of them have probably totally invested in the vote by now. I bet a lot of them haven't. I think a lot of the suburbanites seem to be switching. I'd say right now, you can't say anything else. I'd say that he wins them. He wins the three of them. Biden.
I would agree with you. I would say he wins the three of them. Probably best margin in Michigan.
Yeah.
I would guess Pennsylvania as the closest, as it were, right now. And I think that's, obviously Biden is taking this hard pro-fracking stance because he's pretty sure if he came out against fracking, he would lose Pennsylvania outright.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean,
those are-
considering he has nothing else in the quiver at all, just one more thing to fuck people with isn't going to be helpful.
Oh, did you hear about this? He's from Scranton.
Yeah, I've heard.
He's from Scranton, and people like things that are proximate to them.
Yeah.
The other crucial state, and I'm actually not really a crucial state, but it is an interesting state, is, of course, the state of Florida. A huge prize. I don't think it will be the tipping point state. I don't think it will matter that much one way or another. Polls have it very close. What does your gut say about Florida?
I would say Trump wins Florida.
I would agree, especially if he picks a Cuban lady.
Yeah.
That would help.
That'll be the final little mwah.
But what if what if Biden were to, I don't know, spitball in here, campaign with Juan Guaido?
See, that could move upwards of 5 or 6 immediate family members of Juan Guaido, so it could be important.
All right. Unless you have anything else about the presidency, one last job got towed into the Beltway garage. We kicked the tires of 2 branches of government. What do you say we check the air on a third?
Well, let's get in there.
Election bookies consider Democrats a safe bet to keep the House, but the Senate is an airball. Yes or no? Do Democrats win the Senate?
Okay, so let me get this out. I think Gideon wins in Michigan, or I'm sorry, Maine. Gideon wins in Maine. Kelly definitely wins in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hickenlooper wins in Colorado.
Dark Lord.
So that's 4.
That's 3.
That's 3. That would get them the lead, but then again, they might lose Doug Peters or Doug Jones might lose in Alabama, although it looks very close there.
I think
the fact that he's running against the former head coach of Auburn might actually keep him in the Senate, because Alabama fans are certainly the majority in Alabama over Auburn fans, and nothing defines being an Alabama fan more than hating Auburn.
Yeah, but isn't the inverse true? Isn't this going to juice turnout among Auburn fans?
Well, that's just it. They're already a minority. And so who else? Apparently the your name here guy in Michigan who's a Democrat is in a competitive race.
Gary
but
Peters.
I think if Trump wins, if since I think Biden's going to win Michigan, I think he'll hold on.
Yeah.
I'd say they win it by 1. They got 1. They get 51-49.
51-49. Now, when I count the seats, I get to a 52-48 Senate Democrat.
Okay.
But my gut tells me 53-47. So that's what I'm going to go with right now. I think 7 Democratic pickups and 1 loss. I think for the GOP, Colorado, Maine, and Arizona, as you said, are toast. I think North Carolina is toast. I believe Richie Cunningham will win there. Iowa, probably toast as well. I think that the GOP could hold the line in both Georgia seats, but lose Montana, where Democrats got their top recruit. And I do think there's going to be one upset. I think there's going to be one that nobody was really expecting. It's kind of competitive, but nobody's really expecting it. It could be Kansas. It could be Texas. It could be Alaska. But I think it's most likely to be South Carolina.
Oh, yes. It's a close race there. Lindsey Graham.
It's a surprisingly close race. Lindsey Graham is like, these are Republican incumbents in red states, but who have been consistently polling under 50%. And like often in the low 40s. With Lindsey Graham, there have been a number of polls that show him tied at like 42-42 with Jamie Harrison, his opponent.
But you have to consider this, Virgil. At the presidential level, the Supreme Court issue might end up just being a wash and just more gasoline on a contained fire, basically. But in the Senate, it could provide a meaningful motivator for people to not split tickets or to make sure to pay attention to down ballot races because of the perceived stakes of their role in a potential Supreme Court vacancy fight.
There is also, I think, something that prevented the Democrats from winning the Senate last time around was the widespread perception that Hillary Clinton would win the race, which encouraged a lot of people to vote Republican in the Senate, even if they did not want the Republicans to keep the Senate, simply because they just have a fetish for divided government.
Yeah, those people, our favorite type of moron.
Our favorite type of moron. I find South Carolina very, very interesting because Lindsey Graham is one of those guys who's like, how did he get elected?
It's baffling.
Ever. He has no charisma.
No.
He has he seems to have no political instincts. And I think he is in this tight race because he has, in the span of the past 4 years, been able to piss off pretty much everyone. I think that, he's become a Trump toady, which, of course, enrages the resistance types who are a minority there, but, with sufficient turnout, that's going to eat into his margin. But I think MAGA people remember what an asshole he used to be to Trump.
Yeah.
And I don't even, Trump occasionally tweets something nice about him, but you can tell Trump doesn't give a shit about this guy.
Well, that's just it. Is that he did the worst possible thing? Is that he made a spectacle of himself opposing Trump, and then once Trump won, he made a spectacle of himself debasing himself to Trump, which is something that no one, no matter even if they like Trump, can respect. And so that means that no one respects him at all in the state, and that's going to hurt you. Like, because there's a lot of goofs out there who I vote the man, not the party or whatever shit, and they see just a gutless guy. It's like he doesn't believe anything.
He doesn't have
he has nothing in his soul, or he would not have acted that way.
He doesn't have the brand or force of personality or even just weirdness of a Rand Paul or a Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz, who all did essentially the same thing, but they've come out of it relatively unscathed.
They could put it on their own weird terms because they have their own thing that they're like speaking from. He has nothing. It's just himself. It's this sour old queen. Awful.
He's a void, and that is the other thing is the far right culture conservatives, they think he's gay.
Yes,
they don't like that.
Yes,
and that is a substantial vote there.
They think that he's gay. Yes,
for some reason, this guy who's great friends with John McCain and just constantly wants to bomb Iran. Just talking about how big and burly the troops are.
He loves
this confirmed bachelor.
Yes, lifetime bachelor.
They think he's gay.
They think he's gay for some reason.
And I think I can see the stars aligning there, and I can see that being a real upset.
Well, if that happened, that would be an absolutely delicious end to the political career of Lindsey Graham. And that's why I don't think it'll happen, because that sort of sweet comeuppance just doesn't exist in our godless universe anymore.
I don't know. I think it does kind of happen to some of the never Trump guys, or some of the guys who tangoed with Trump.
That's true. If anyone's going to be fully like debased by their association with Trump, it's going to be the spineless never Trumpers first and foremost.
Kansas is another interesting one. I don't think there's been a lot of good polling data out of it, but it's supposedly a closer than expected race. Kansas elected a Democrat governor in 2018, running against Chris Kobach. But this time around, Chris Kobach lost the primary for the Senate seats.
Darn it, he might have won that one if he'd done that.
Texas is also an odd one. You have John Cornyn there. So of course, it's a red state. John Cornyn is probably not as polarizing a figure as Ted Cruz, not as a disgusting, malformed creature as Ted Cruz.
He looks like a normal human. He's not. Right. He's not a matinee idol or nothing. But you see him and you think, oh, there's a human.
But he has not cracked 47% in a single poll since February. He's been getting a lot of polls that are like, I think the median here is 46%. He's been getting some saying 42%. His Democrat opponent is far worse off, but obviously, as you know, the rule is if you're an incumbent, you're polling under 50%. That's bad. That indicates most people want to kick you out of there. And I really wonder how well, when you have so many states that are red states, but with Republican incumbents that are polling well below 50%, how well that rule is going to apply this time around. Because if this were like a 2006, 2008, those guys are all toast. But
I think that comes down to the top of the ticket. I think that the presence of Joe Biden at the top of this Democratic ticket is this. It's this pall. It's this fucking yoke. It's pestilence. It just is destroying the downstream commitment of the average voter to the Democrats as an alternative to what we have now, because things are in a situation where the Republicans run 2 of the 3 fucking chambers right now, the presidency and the Senate. Or they are the architects of the current moment in a way that's pretty intuitive. They should be being destroyed at the state and local level, and one of the reasons they're not being is that if you want to reject someone, you have to have a plausible idea of an alternative to what they're doing to you. And the Democrats under Biden are refusing, and in the person of Biden, refusing to embody anything other than decrepitude, senescence, and incompetence. So why are you going to vote for him? And so these guys are going to be saved by Joe Biden more than anything.
Well, there is. I mean, if you're a Democrat Senate challenger this year, you do have the benefit of getting to say, look how incompetent Washington is. They can't pass another freaking coronavirus bill. This isn't about Trump. This is just about what a mess DC is. They get to run as the anti-establishment this time around. And that's that is a potent message, and I think that is a big reason why these Republican senators in red states have very low approval ratings.
Yeah.
But it's an open question. But in order for Democrats to win there, enough people have to split their ticket because we expect Trump to win all of these states by a decent margin. I know Democrats have, they made noises about winning Texas. I don't see it happening. It might be close. It might even be Beto close, but that's still a loss. So are there people coming out to are there people Bernie could have won Texas? Are there people coming out saying, voting for Trump but voting for MJ Hagar in Texas?
I can't. No. I mean, honestly, if they wanted to win in some of these states, they should have run Q people.
The Democrats?
Yeah.
I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Just some sort of someone with that kind of energy, someone with insanity, because the people they are putting out there, they're Democrats at this point. They are not, and like Biden, they stand for nothing. You got to have some character in there. You got to have a presence to counterpose with the existing order. And now there's just this scary, terrifying, hollow absence that you're supposed to just prefer simply because of how emotionally traumatic and horrifying the current moment is. It's like the lure of jumping out a window when you're burning to death.
Well, that's why I really think Lindsey Graham is the one most likely to be an upset, because I do see a lot of ticket splitting there. I do see a lot of Republicans in South Carolina pulling for Trump and then either ignoring the Senate race or voting Libertarian or even just voting for a Democrat they don't know anything about because fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But I will say one state that will absolutely, positively not be an upset is Kentucky.
No.
One of the biggest, most embarrassing obungles of this cycle, sinking, $30 million in this total nobody. This total fucking...
She blew up Yemeni birthday party, sir. That's all you need to know. She's killed people for this country.
She's best known as a loser for a fucking House seat, and this time around an almost certain loser for a Senate seat, yet who's still raking in big donations because people seem to think, if we beat Mitch McConnell, that means all the Republican senators go away. He's the end boss.
He's the head vampire. If you kill the head vampire, everyone else turns back into a human.
And she is. I mean, I will say that there is a qualitative difference between Amy McGrath and these other, lesser known Senate challengers, because I think the other challengers are kind of just playing it safe. They're not making huge noises about, I'm a Democratic conservative or crap like that. But Amy McGrath's whole strategy is, I'm a conservative Democrat.
Yep. Why would you not want the single most effective advancer of conservative goals in American government for 150 years? Why would you want him in there and not me? Because I flew a boom boom plane.
And of course, this is perfectly demonstrated by her tremendous bungle of the question of whether she would vote to confirm Kavanaugh, which she flipped on twice in the span of 24 hours. Twice, 2 flips. Let's get some honky noises there.
Why are you supposed to vote for these people? What is the actual? It has to just be that there's something wrong with Mitch McConnell as a person,
which there is.
Well, obviously he's a turtle-shaped freak and a drug dealer, most likely. Allegedly.
That's the cool thing about him.
But what is it? If it's all right. I'm more conservative than him. I don't think that's the push. They're not really that she's more conservative. It's that she's better at being conservative than him. Once again, he's the most effective legislator since fucking Sam Rayburn. How the hell is he not the man that you want in Washington if you want conservative government pursued? What is the point?
I look forward to her completely fucking up getting asked about Trump's nominee again.
Oh, God, she's going to fuck the dog on that.
I do think it's really funny that the two Democrat lines about Mitch McConnell are Moscow Mitch and Cocaine Mitch, which both sound cool. They both sound like a guy.
He's a fucking baller.
They both sound like a guy you'd meet selling drugs in a European nightclub.
Yeah.
Go talk to Moscow Mitch. He will hook you up.
He's wearing a tracksuit. What? I've got Molly. What? I've got the GHB.
Moscow Mitch.
Thanks, Moscow Mitch.
Thanks, Moscow Mitch. Do we have anything else? Anything else you want to roll in the garage?
I'm set. I'm ready for this bullshit to be over. Just so that everybody can have their giant rage orgasm and just have like a nice 2-week refractory period before just slowly pedaling themselves up on the top of the next island of erotic frustration and release with politics.
Yeah, well, too bad, because election day is becoming election week. Steve Kornacki is going to be pumped full of speed. He will be up for 163 hours, going over every single county as the vote extends into December.
Hell yes. This will actually be a good part of it. Just watching these guys who are built like racehorses have to run a marathon.
I have one thing. So as of right now, Virgil, I think maybe a little more confidently, and Matt, you are envisioning a very likely scenario where there is a Democratic trifecta in January 2021.
I think so, yeah.
I'd say it's possible, but it's like I'm still talking in percentages here. I don't think it's likely or anything. I
would call it likely.
I would not say that.
Let's say lean trifecta.
Yeah.
What do you imagine is the first legislative goal of the new Democratic trifecta?
Putting Trump in prison.
What is the first 100 days? If that happens, it's going to be like 6 weeks of kicking and screaming and trying to sort out this whole election all the way to January. They wheel Biden up there. They get his hand on the book. They swear in the new Congress. And the next day, it's going to be like the biggest fucking hangover after a charity kegger you threw in college ever. And nobody is going to have any idea what anybody is doing with any of this shit.
Banning flavored vapes.
National ban.
That's going to be it. National ban on flavored vapes. That's going to be the first order of business.
I picture a bill called something like the Decency Act. And it's just an omnibus of... I don't know. I can't even picture it.
You know what it'll be? Presidents have to show their tax returns when they run for president. It's the law now.
You see Biden ads, and I kind of get deja vu to 2016 when, of course, nobody knew what the hell Hillary Clinton would do as president. Nobody had any fucking idea because she wasn't running on any kind of platform. This time around, I realized, oh fuck, I don't know what Biden would do either. The real answer is some kind of like the coronavirus bill that they should have just passed fucking 4 months ago. But that's it. That's not actual, that's not actually crafting policy. That's housekeeping. And it's important. It's good. It needs to happen. But in terms of like an actual legislative push, like spending political capital, which Obama did on the ACA, I have no idea what that would look like. If there is going to be a big Biden, a big shift.
Maybe I think maybe like I wouldn't be surprised if it was some sort of Paris Accord Green New Deal jack off where it's like some symbolic climate action.
That's always been my contention, that it's going to be an attempt to do the Green New Deal entirely through tax credits.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I don't even think I think they consider the term Green New Deal toxic. I think they're not even trying to dress it up like that. I think
kind of climate change.
It's
climate change legislation.
It's going to be a package of tax cuts and incentives.
But I will tell you,
it's going to be every American gets a 20% coupon for an electric vehicle.
But I will say this: no chance of a climate tax, of a carbon tax. No chance of a cap and trade type deal. Like they do not have
no
the
actual
political will or
the capital to do green energy and bullshit like that.
It'll be more
just corporate welfare.
It'll be more Solyndra shit. We'll have more Solyndra.
Yeah, more Solyndra. Yeah,
and a Solyndra in every pot.
And we're going to in every pot.
A Solyndra in every pot. And we can roll that into the Decency Act.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps it up. Thank you to Bad News Hughes. Check out his podcast, You Can't Win. Link in the description. And thank you, Grease Monkeys, for joining us for another sweaty afternoon in the Beltway garage. Keep your dial turned to WCTH as we enter the home stretch of the 2020 election. We will be covering the Supreme Court confirmation hearings and scoring Trump's nominees' answers on a scale of how dare you to you don't know how bad you look. And starting next Tuesday and continuing through October, we will be broadcasting live commentary of all 4 presidential and vice presidential debates at twitch.tv/Chapo Trap House.
Hell yeah.